Hey guys, it is Sophie from GAINSBYBRAINS and thank you so much for watching today's video. In this video, I am going to explain what my personal top tips are on how you can stay on track during the holidays, while I am going to attempt to bake Cinnabons, because why not? So a quick little disclaimer. Things usually fail when I am attempting to bake something. I think that is mainly because I am a bit impatient when it comes to baking. So if you need to wait until the butter is melted, then I usually don't wait until the butter is melted. Or if you need to, I don't know, whisk something for 4 minutes, then I don't do it. So that being said, I don't know how this is going to work, but I really like Cinnabons, so I thought, let's just try to make them. And if it fails, then you know that you don't have to try to. So that's a double bonus. The first step of this recipe is to combine flour, baking powder, salt and sugar to make the dough. And we start by having 2 cups of flour. I read online that you need to always pour the flour into your cup instead of scooping it out, because if you scoop it out, then it presses the flour down in your cup and therefore you actually have more flour than you need. If that is the case, then that is definitely the reason why my recipes usually fail. Just blame it on the flour. So this is 1 cup. That looks like a lot. And then we have our second cup. I hope that I have enough. Cup number 2. After the flour, we are going to do the baking powder, baking soda. I have baking soda. Is that the same as baking powder? Oh, I don't know if that's the same as baking powder. I'm going to check. I found some baking powder. I am going to use the baking powder instead of the baking soda. I don't know if there's a difference. We need 4 teaspoons. This is also something that I usually mess up. The teaspoons or tablespoons. That will also cause your recipe to fail. So we need 4 teaspoons. 3 and then 4. So now that we have the flour and we have the baking powder, the next thing that we need is the salt. I don't know how much salt we need, but I'm just going to use a bit, I think. I forgot to write it down. I have the recipe written down here in front of me, but I didn't add how much salt I need. So we are just going to wing it. Next is the sugar. We need 2 tablespoons of sugar, so that is this larger one. I think you need white sugar, but I am going to use, I think this is called cane sugar. And voila! So that is the first step of our vegan Cinnabons. For the next step, we need 1/4 cup of butter and we need to cut it into the mixture. So that means that you use a cutting device, but I don't have it, so I thought this would probably work as well. Maybe not, we'll see. So that is what I am going to do right now. So 1/4 of a cup of butter. I think that it might be something like this. I am just going to wing it, and if I need a bit more of something or a bit less, then I'm just going to add it. It's just easy. Baking with Sophie means that there are no rules. And while I'm going to cut the butter in, I am going to talk about my top tips on how to stay on track during the holidays. First of all, I am not worried about the holidays at all. There are 52 weeks in 1 year, so let's say 2 weeks of the year are filled with festivities, which is not significant if you just look at the rest of the year. So if you just stay on track, if you do your best to stick to your activity plan, to stick to your nutrition plan during the other 50 weeks of the year, then there is definitely no need to worry about the 2 weeks of holidays. There is a whole gray area of, on one end, not completely sticking to your nutrition plan, not completely sticking to your macros, and on the other end, not completely indulging every single day of the holidays. So I truly believe that it is all about balance, it is all about moderation, unless of course you have a valid reason not to, maybe because you're in competition prep or maybe your, I don't know, career depends on it. That is of course an exception. And then I completely understand that you want to stick to everything as well as you can during the holidays. But if you don't have anything like that and you just don't want to waste your progress, which of course you don't want to waste your progress, you worked really hard to reach the results that you reached, so you don't want to throw everything away in 2 weeks. But I truly believe that if you enjoy things in moderation, if you just balance your intake, balance your activity level while enjoying yourself, then there's definitely no need to worry about it. That is just how I personally think about it. I do have some tips, of course, that might help you out a little bit more. So in general, there are two things, right? You always have your activity and you always have your caloric intake, your nutrition. Whenever those two are in balance, then you will neither gain or lose weight. And when your intake is higher than your activity, then you will gain weight. And when your activity is higher than your intake, then you will lose weight. That is just a very short summary of the energy balance. So my first tips are all about activity. But before going to the tips, I just wanted to show you that the cutting device that I made actually works pretty well. So I'm not sure if you can see it, but if you cut the butter into the mixture that we just made, then things just become a bit flaky, not really mixed in very well. And that is exactly what you want. So I'm going to continue for a little bit longer because I'm determined to make this recipe work. So now that I'm satisfied with how my mixture looks, I'm going to make a little hole and then I'm going to put the milk in. I'm using oat milk. This didn't work. I am going to use my knife. This also doesn't work. See, that is usually what happens whenever I try to bake something. I have a little hole in the mid of my bowl and now I am going to add 1 cup of oat milk. You can use any milk that you like or that you have, because I had oat milk. And I'm just going to pour that in the middle like this. And now I am going to stir everything. I feel that this is always the point during baking, that you either feel like this is going somewhere or that you know that you messed up, because either your dough is way too dry or it is not looking like dough at all. So fingers crossed. It is really sticky. I think that is a good thing. While I am going to stir this, I am going to explain my first tip all about activity, and that is all about your workout. So if you have no valid reason to not get your workout in, then make sure that you get your workout in, especially during the holidays. Also, try to get it in early in the morning. 2 reasons why that is a good idea. First reason is that if you get it in first thing in the morning, then you really have no reason not to go. So let's say that you're with your family, you are laying on the couch, you still have to go to the gym, you're laying under a nice cozy blanket, maybe have a warm cup of tea, some cookies, and you're watching a Christmas movie, and we both know that you are not going to get up to go to the gym. At least that is not what I would do. So therefore, getting it in first thing in the morning, then you really have no reason not to go. Second, what I really believe is that if you start your day strong, then it is much easier to behave well during the rest of the day, because you already did something really good that definitely takes effort. So you feel like you don't want to mess things up the rest of the day. I don't know if you agree, but I always feel that. That is why they say, or why people often say, that you need to make your bed the first thing in the morning, just because if you get a task out of the way, if you did something well, you're less likely to end it on a bad note, if that makes sense. If they say that about making your bed, then you can only imagine how good your day will be if you started with a workout. Now, my second tip all about activity is just to make sure that you keep your activity level up. So as I mentioned, you have your energy balance. So on one end you have your energy intake, and then on the other end you have your energy expenditure. Whenever both are the same, your energy balance is balanced, and therefore you will maintain weight. Keeping your activity level up also means that if you increase your caloric intake due to all the nice food items or cookies or Cinnabons, then that isn't that big of a deal, because your activity level is still up. So you can have a higher caloric intake while maintaining weight. If you increase your caloric intake and you decrease your activity level, then you are more off balance compared to when you keep your activity level up while increasing your caloric intake. So just try to get a walk in if your gym is closed. You can do an at-home ab routine, you can do a HIIT routine at home. It just takes no time, you need no equipment, and you just get your heart rate up and get your body moving. So there is no excuse not to. It really makes a difference. I have this, which looks like dough to me. It is super sticky, and now I am going to put some flour on my cutting board. Then I am going to fold the dough. I'm going to attempt to fold the dough. So I know that you need to be very royal, is that the word? Royal with your flour, because otherwise it just sticks to everything. So I'm just going to put a lot of flour here. I'm going to put the dough on the board and I'm going to press it down and fold it 10 times. This is the part where it gets messy. I washed my hands. I am going to... Maybe I need to flour my hands as well. I think that works. So this is 1. Press it down again. Then 2. So while I am going to keep folding this, I am going to talk about my tips regarding your caloric intake or your food. And the main thing that I am actually pretty bad at, and that is to make sure that you stay hydrated enough. Not because being hydrated is obviously really important, but it also really helps with feeling full. So what I usually do is I drink a big glass of water before I am going to eat, because that just really fills you up. And then the chances of overeating are decreased. Overeating during the holidays, like I said, there is a large gray area. Not something I am too concerned about. What I am concerned about is that I just don't like the feeling of being so uncomfortable after eating. You know, that feeling when you had too much that you just physically feel sick. Drinking a glass of water just really helps with fighting that or combating that. I think that I folded it 10 times already. And now I am going to roll it out. I think that I'm also going to flour this. What is this called? So this doesn't stick. Of course it doesn't stick. I'm not a baker. But I try. Just cut it like this. So I probably shouldn't have done that. Maybe I can stick it again. All right, so that doesn't really work either. I'm just going to make a separate one with this piece of dough. All right, so I am pretty happy with how this looks, with the exception of this little guy here. We are going to take care of him afterwards. And the next step is to put butter on the dough, and I am going to need 1/4 cup of butter again. So that is what I am going to measure out right now. This isn't butter that you can spread easily. I am just going to, I don't know, try my best to spread it evenly without like breaking the dough, I guess. Maybe I should have warmed the butter a little bit. Maybe I can roll it a bit with the dough thing. Maybe this works. No, this doesn't work. Alrighty, so what are we going to do? We just keep going. Just keep going. It will end up being super nice. Promise. It looks a bit like a pizza, but that's fine. So I wanted to talk a little bit about my final tip regarding your food intake during the holidays that can just help you a bit with staying on track. So my final tip is to get your vegetables in. Now, I'm not saying that you need to eat plain Brussels sprouts and broccoli. You can obviously just prepare them in a nice way, or maybe, I don't know, someone in your family made them with a bit of a sauce, whatever. The main thing is that most vegetables itself are not caloric dense, and that means that you can eat a whole lot of them without many calories, and therefore it will really help with filling you up. Vegetables are also full with fiber, and that will really help with feeling full, and it will really help with your digestion. So therefore make sure that you get your vegetables in, and usually if you drink a lot of water and if you get your vegetables in, then there isn't that much room to completely go off track. Again, it is all about balance, and those things can really help with maintaining or finding balance. Now I'm going to add 1 cup of brown sugar, and I am going to sprinkle that over the butter. So this will be the filling of the cinnamon. This isn't really sprinkling. I'm just going to spread it out. Also, this is the time where you should start preheating your oven to 400 degrees Fahrenheit. And now I am going to also add the cinnamon, of course. And what I also wanted to add to my list of tips is that you should always go by how you feel. So if you have a few days where you maybe were a bit off balance, didn't really enjoy moderation, but mainly enjoyed, then that is perfectly fine. But if you notice that you start feeling a little bit sluggish the next days, for example, then you know that you might need to take it easy for a little while. Maybe have a few good days, maybe track your macros, maybe just focus on keeping your activity level up, and then you will, on a weekly basis, will still have that balance. So it isn't all about the day. If you zoom out a bit, you can also see whether you were balanced throughout the entire week. I don't mean decreasing your caloric intake to make up for the higher caloric days, but just in general, just go by how you feel and if you tend to feel a little bit bad or a little bit sluggish, then you know that you probably need to maybe up your activity a little bit so you feel very strong and just energized again. Now we are going to roll the dough. I think that this is the fun part, you know, where you actually see your Cinnabons starting to come to life. Then I'm going to cut them. Use a sharp knife for this. I am going to make this little guy here because we don't want to waste anything. He also deserves a good future as a nice Cinnabon. Spreading a little bit of butter. And then I am adding some sugar for the filling. I'm also going to add the cinnamon, and then I'm going to roll him up. Now I have 2 mini Cinnabons. I cut a little piece of baking sheet. Now I'm going to put the little buns in it. That looks really nice. I am impressed. This is what it looks like. I'm going to put them in the oven for 10 to 15 minutes or so, depending on how it looks. And then I will get back to you with the end result and with a little tasting test. It took a little bit longer than expected, and that is 100% because my oven just doesn't really work. It took about 20 minutes, but look at the end result. I feel that this is the perfect holiday treat. It is foolproof because I made them and it succeeded, so it is definitely foolproof. It looks amazing and I think that everybody likes them. I'll just give you a close up. And I wish that you could smell what they smell like. I also quickly made a very simple icing. Just made it with powdered sugar and the tiniest bit of milk. I'm just going to pour it over the Cinnabons just to make it a little bit extra festive. And there we have the finished product. I'm going to do a little taste test. I'm going to try one of the little ones. Let's see. Flavor, 10 out of 10. The only slight thing that I have to say is that they are a tiny bit dry. So maybe you need to add a bit more icing, or you could have it with some ice even, like ice cream ice. So that was it for today's video. Some tips and tricks how I deal with the holidays. I want to wish you happy holidays. I hope that you're having an amazing time. Don't stress about it too much. Make sure that you enjoy, and then the new year is almost around the corner. New goals, new year. I'm super excited for it. I hope that you enjoyed this video. If you are going to try the Cinnabons, definitely make sure to let me know. We have an advent calendar to open. I just realized that is what I'm going to grab. For Vlogmas day number 10, I am going to open this one. And I have a Trek cacao coconut protein flapjack, gloriously gluten-free, 9 grams of protein. And I have to try this one. I know that I'm going to eat the Cinnabons, but I need to do a taste test of this one as well. It looks really nice. It has a layer of chocolate, which always wins for me. It tastes like coconut and like chocolate, so if you like those two, then you definitely like this one. But I'm going to save it for later today because I need to eat some Cinnabons. So thank you so much for watching today's video. I hope that you enjoyed it, and then I will see you in tomorrow's video for Vlogmas day number 11. Bye guys.